Hey, lady, what are you doing? I'm from the big city, and we do it like this.
Well, come and learn how we do it.
So you want to make the move from the city
And make the big escape to the country.
Hey folks, I'm Glenn.
I'm Maureen.
Welcome to another edition of Cabin Life. You know, our forefathers made the great escape as pioneers to the new lands.
So did our foremothers.
And they were escaping persecution. They wanted to have more freedom. They wanted less rules, restrictions, a long reach of government. And today it's really not that much different. And we made the same move many years ago for reasons of wanting less rules, less restrictions, more freedom to do what we wanted, to enjoy nature, and to live a simpler life. And just like our forefathers, you know, we were on a budget. We only had so many resources that we could make that move with. And it was challenging. And you can imagine what it must have been for our pioneer forefathers that made that long journey. They had to book a ship and stayed on that for a couple of months probably.
Probably, and then get onto a train, so forth to what?
Well, you know, if they purchased some land and they had to make their way to the land, it would, in this country, it would have been in the middle of the forest, in the wilderness. So they would have had to make their way to their claim, and there wouldn't be roads, of course, that would go to their front door, right? So they would have maybe, as you say, taken a train, and then maybe a stagecoach along the corduroy road, and then stagecoach probably would have dropped them off at the side of the road and said, you know, there you go, folks. And I don't know how they would have known where the heck to drop them off and where they were, but they would have had to make a camp, I would think, and then venture off into the forest and find their claim and their piece of property. So many challenges.
Really, and some people today say that it's a tough time moving from the city to the country, and when you relate back to then, it really doesn't seem all that much harder, but there is a whole new lifestyle to learn.
So there's similarities in many ways, but with today's technology and so forth, it certainly makes the move a lot easier, right? You jump in the car or the truck and make the move, and you know, you can put things in storage while you're making that move, and building and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's challenges will come along the way.
And nowadays, you get to look for your property. You get to pick what you want by looking at it, not just by picking something at the map or accepting the next parcel of land that's ready to be sold to someone.
Now, for where we are here in an unorganized township in Ontario, Canada, we have very few rules and restrictions and regulations. We don't have a service board. We have a roads board, and very few permits are required. But you would need a permit for the well if you're going to have a well drilled or dug, and you also need a permit for a septic system. One of the big differences that we've noticed since we've moved from the city is that we've had a lot less screen time and more green time.
That's for sure.
Remote wilderness living, it's not for everyone, and thank goodness for that. Otherwise, everyone would be living in the wilderness.
Living in the wilderness is quite a bit of a different lifestyle than living in the city. We've done both. We know what it's like living down in the city and living in the wilderness for 40 years. So there's a lot of different things. One of the big ones is suppliers, and I'm very strongly believe that when we live out in the rural areas, that we support the local community businessmen. Like, there's a lot of shopkeepers that they will do their best to get the supplies that we need when we go in and see them. And they try to have competitive prices. So I always promote to people, please try to look up the local shopkeepers, the suppliers, your farmers, the beekeepers, the garden markets, and support them. That could be part of your searching for your land exercise. When you're looking for where you want to live, look for who has businesses that supply the things that you're going to need.
And escaping from the city to the country, there may be some skills that you can bring to the table as well and contribute to the local fabric and network.
That is so true. The other day I was down at our local convenience store gas station, and we got talking about how things are going in the area, because a lot of people have been moving up to these different areas in the last couple of years. And the one person said, oh, we need more contractors and plumbers, and then someone else sort of piped in and they said, we need good contractors and plumbers, gas fitters, anything that would help people build their homesteads.
You know, people can bring their skills to the table to a new community, and a lot of those skills will be very much needed. It's something that you can actually earn a living from, and no matter, you know, what it is, whether you're an electrician, you've got skilled labor, you could purchase a sawmill and sell lumber. You could grow and raise crops and animals, you know, vegetables, fruits, that kind of thing, eggs, chickens. Just be careful that you don't grow a monster. Some people have started a YouTube channel when they have, started a homestead and brought their viewers along for the journey. And unfortunately, sometimes what happens is the YouTuber becomes kind of a slave to the algorithm, where you have to continually create new content and new exciting content for your viewers in order to keep the views up, so that the advertising dollars will keep coming in. And to me, that's not a very self-reliant way of living, having to depend on an algorithm or, you know, your advertisers for cash to come in. But there are lots of skills that you can bring and share those skills on YouTube and that kind of a thing as well. So, you know, for us, we like to do our YouTube videos. We share it with our viewers, but we do that when we feel that there's something that we want to share. We don't just make up content for the sake of doing that.
And also, it's a great opportunity for anyone who wants to start something new, want to look for a new career. There's lots of opportunities in apprenticeships, or so many people are saying that they're looking for new employees in their job. So there's lots of opportunity for change if you'd like to find a different route, not just in where you're living, but in what you're doing to create your income.
So we made the great escape several years ago. We pared down our belongings, we simplified our lives. We tried to have as little as possible in storage, but having a storage unit really came in handy for that intermediate, transition from one place to another.
One of the biggest challenges making the big move was downsizing and paring down, because we were looking at making a smaller footprint. And so what were we going to do with all of our stuff? We didn't want to put everything in storage forever. So what we did is I started going through all of our cupboards. Whenever I was putting things away or organizing stuff, my goal was every cupboard, every drawer, every closet, remove about half of it if possible. And for the most part, I was able to do that. And
Kijiji, buy, sell, and trade, they became our friends for quite a while there. We had moved a lot of our stuff, the excess that we didn't need any longer. You know, for us, the city was like a big noisy machine. It's just a matter of how close that you want to live to it. We don't mind being part of the fabric of society, but we just don't want to be too close. Now, at the same time, we're not knocking those who enjoy living in the city. That's certainly their prerogative and lifestyle that they prefer. And there's certainly, nothing wrong with that.
Well, I hope a lot of people who are in the city enjoy being in the city, because if they didn't enjoy being in the city, they'd all be up here. So we would, no disrespect to anyone, but it's like, yeah, we like our space. One of the options for moving to the country that I thought was a really good idea is tiny home communities that are springing up. So I thought, it's really good. People who are used to the social fabric of the city, and they like to have the social involvement with other people. They have a tiny home. There's lots of support in the communities, especially ones that are in unorganized townships, because you can build a tiny home there without all the restrictions. So I had thought. There was a viewer comment recently in one of our videos talking about the tiny home communities and the government starting to think about stepping in and reviewing what's going on them. One of the communities had put in quite a few gray water pits, and apparently something wasn't quite right with that. So the government's starting to look more at regulating or looking at tiny home communities to make sure that everything is right, especially with the environmental permits.
I think that was a question of, or an issue of too many units in a small space, and having, you know, that many gray water pits, as opposed to a full-blown septic system to handle all that gray water. I think perhaps that was like an environmental issue, basically, is what it became.
When it comes to septics and water and wells and supplying those services, it's different for smaller properties, like where there's 1 or 2 homes, compared to when there's multiple homes on a property. So if you're looking at going into a tiny home community, you know, power to you. I think they're a really good idea. But do your homework and make sure that they're following all the regulations to do with the gray water pit septics and the wells.
So sometimes in areas where there's not as many restrictions and rules and that kind of a thing, developers can get a little bit overzealous, shall we say, with some of the developments that, you know, they want to put forward.
And please, 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 anyone who's moving from the city or larger communities, when they come up here, please learn to have patience. I have seen so many times that our hard-working store clerks and shop owners getting a little bit of a lecture from people from the city saying, hey, down in the city, this is how they do it. You're not down in the city when you're here. So learn to relax, take your time. If they don't have the supplies that you need, ask them how you can get them.
Just pretend that you're basically back in the city in the lineup for the counter, or at the lineup in traffic, or the lineup at the gas station. It's about the same thing. Be patient, yeah. Oh, we've got an update for you on the interior of the cabin. It's been coming along with our renovations and so forth, and we'll show that to you in an upcoming video.
And if you're looking to buy land, check out the videos in our playlist, Buying Land and Finding Your Dream Property.
That's all for this one. I'm Glenn.
I'm Maureen.
We'll see you next time. Over and out.
Take care.